Today, it's time for chillin', thrillin', and maybe a little illin'. This is ChillPoint.
Did I inadvertently put you in a Simpsons state of mind?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe. Hey, everybody. Welcome to ChillPoint. Show where we talk about all the video game news. And normally we would talk about episode of Checkpoint, but there was no episode of Checkpoint. You didn't like miss it or something.
Mm-hmm. It fell down a hole.
Mm-hmm. It unfortunately, circumstances conspired to make it not work. But the interesting thing is, a bunch of the stories were already written by the time we realized that we wouldn't actually be able to record it. So we've got a head start on next week's episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway.
To make little changes, I'm sure, here and there. If
Well,
there's
you know, you have to
emerging
update something
story.
from like
We have to,
yesterday to
Yeah.
last week, you know.
That's always the
Those
worst.
weeks.
Like that happens sometimes where like a story will happen on like Monday or Friday.
Mm-hmm.
But then it will be like resolved on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. You know, like,
And
what
so
am I
then
gonna write
the
about?
Checkpoint story becomes like, this really exciting thing happened, but turned out to be nothing.
Mm-hmm.
So this is why we have a constant rotation of people who are supposed to check the points. And when somebody isn't well enough to go check the points and we forget to rotate, the points get away. We got to
true.
round them back up for next week, but it'll be fun.
Yeah.
But there are other stories that we didn't write stories about, like every week.
Yeah, those stayed put.
Luckily, even though the stories may be slightly delayed,
They probably won't be untrue by the time we get
the
to them.
stupidity will still be there when we get to it.
Paul promises. And you know what happens when Paul promises. Tune in next week to find out.
So, let's start with Atari.
Beach, you were no use in helping me derail.
Sorry.
I'm eating pizza. My goodness.
Visually derailing the episode.
No,
Yeah.
visually doesn't count. It's not the same as like making Paul go completely off track.
I know.
You make me throw one of my books at him.
No.
This week's book is heavy.
No.
It would be mean. It's a hardcover too.
Now, we've talked about Atari in various forms, and Atari has taken various forms over the years. But in this case, they are coming out with a new breakout
All right.
game.
Are
So
you saying there's a new game breaking out?
a new breakout is breaking out. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So right in their wheelhouse. So what's kind of interesting about this two things. One, it was developed by Choice Provisions, who do the Bit Trip games.
Oh, okay.
Here, let me.
I was not aware that was their name.
Also, check this out. Check out this innovation. It's gonna blow your mind. It's sideways.
Because somebody
So-
was like, wait, the original Breakout was always played on a TV that was vertical. And what if we just turn it? I don't think that's what they thought, but
Also, I think it's actually just like it just keeps going.
it's endless, yeah.
Yeah, rather
Oh,
than
okay.
having like distinct levels, which is kind of a cool idea, actually.
And as far as an innovation goes, too, that I'm like, I like that idea of being able to move, like moving through the level and having the level come past you and be like, it doesn't matter if there's bricks that are going to make it past you. The whole point is that you're just trying to keep moving. Is a really neat idea.
If you don't get rid of them fast enough, is this like Tetris where it's like...
They'll just crush you to
get
the wall.
like smushed.
Yeah.
Probably.
I
Now,
guess that's not really Tetris. There's, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Now, the couple things about this. So it looks like they're going for reminds me of the like Tetris was it Tetris 99 or whatever? I don't know. There's a Tetris game that sort of has that same kind of, I don't know, vaporwave. And it's sort of neon color.
Oh, Tetris Effect?
Tetris Effect, that's it.
It's okay. There's like a bazillion Tetris versions.
But the other interesting thing about this is it's possible that you have seen at least a version of this trailer before, depending on how keyed into certain things you were. Because this game has been announced before, but not by Atari.
Mm-hmm.
See, this game was originally going to come out on the good old Amico. Tommy Tallarico's
The punching bag that keeps letting you punch.
Yeah. The Intellivision Amico. This was originally one of its games. I don't know.
So you say this game's breaking out from that system.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if you call it like a flagship game. I just don't know what that means in this context. But anyway, so Atari acquired. So Atari previously, and I believe we briefly mentioned this, acquired Intellivision, the Intellivision brand.
Yeah, but they didn't acquire the Amico.
From Amico.
Yes.
Which I guess I feel like was probably one of the only parts of the whole Amico system that was worth anything at that point.
Or at least a bunch of 50-year-old dudes, yeah.
And if you know, and if you're sort of video game history or in computer history, you know that Intellivision and Atari have had this weird relationship for a long time, actually, where I have to go through like the Wikipedia page again, but at various times, one of them has bought the other and then renamed itself to be the previous thing.
Right.
Right. And so it's like Intellivision bought Atari and then renamed itself Atari, and then Intellivision. Anyway, it gets really complicated. But whatever the case, they've had a somewhat interlocked history, and so now, again, Atari has now bought Intellivision, and they are using the Intellivision brand as their kind of retro game brand.
Okay.
Right. Okay. Wait. Atari is using Intellivision as a retro game brand, but isn't Atari itself just a retro game brand?
Well, because they've created more games. Like their name has been like the publishing arm on more games recently. So from their perspective, they probably think that they're a fresh, hip, new brand still.
Who uses the word hip anymore?
People who
break them,
who run Atari, would be the kind of people who'd still use the word hip.
All right.
The thing is soon all these people will be old enough to retire, and then that's what will happen. Is then we'll finally retire this brand.
Anyway, so then they went back and apparently bought the rights to this particular version of Breakout.
It's coming to the Atari VCS,
and also Switch, PS4, PS4, PS5, Windows, Xbox One, and Xbox Series.
Nice.
It says Xbox One and Xbox Series X.
Ooh.
I assume it's also coming out for the S.
Now, I don't know. I mean, they might have to get the split-screen multiplayer going on.
They might. Yeah, that's true. That's true. Maybe while it runs fine on the Xbox One, maybe it doesn't work on the
S.
Series S.
Maybe they're
they're going to get special dispensation.
Maybe people are just trying to only call Xbox
it's
one
weird.
thing now.
That's fair.
It's weird to me because
call it the Xbox Series or something.
I always liked Breakout as a game. When I saw Breakout initially, I was like, well, that's neat, right? And then you get to play Alleyway for like the Game Boy or whatever. That just the idea of like I'm gonna bounce balls back and forth and knock out a wall and then move on. But I feel like the concept was perfected. And then just iterated after this, but the concept was perfected in Arkanoid.
Yeah, I mean, Arkanoid is pretty. My other favorite I had on my computer when I was younger. I had a game called Mongo Pong,
Okay.
and the big innovation of that was your paddle. You know, as in Arkanoid or whatever, it was like a little ship, but it the thing that you were hitting the
Ball with?
ball with was like a little force field that you had.
Ah, okay.
But the force field could change shapes.
Ah.
Its default shape was like a dome,
Right.
which when you think about it is actually the shape of the paddle
Yeah.
by the way it bounces things.
Right.
It just
Doesn't look like
doesn't
it.
look like it.
Yeah.
So it was like a half dome. But then you could get things that would like change it into like spiky things or change it into like a weird, all sorts of weird shapes, and so it would bounce things funny. It was just like, oh neat, that's a cool way of doing it.
And I feel like that's the thing, like Breakout to me, because it's like Breakout and then Super Breakout, and it's like the most you could kind of get out of that was like we have one paddle, but now we have two paddles, and and that was about it. Like there wasn't much
Multi-ball.
else. Multi-ball wasn't even a thing that they were doing in Breakout.
No, but they would have done it.
But in Arkanoid, that's when it was like you get capsules that fall from the top from broken bricks. You pick them up and they give you power ups. And I was like, that's what this game always needed to be. And looking at Breakout Beyond, I'm like, I can't actually tell if they're adopting the same kind of idea. Just from like the little trailer that we watched, I'm like, I can't see if there's lasers and split balls and widen your paddle and like all those other kind of things.
I would assume so.
I would assume that they would do that because I feel like that's part and parcel of what the Breakout genre is supposed to have, is that you're supposed to get temporary upgrades and you're supposed to get like things to complicate the whole process. Like somebody brought up Shatter in chat, and I think I have that on my phone thanks to Netflix games, and it is really good. It's a really interesting, like, fun take on the whole Breakout Arkanoid thing. It does feel a lot more complicated, and I wonder if then it's like, how complicated can you make a game like this before you start getting way beyond just the core feeling of the gameplay. So yeah, my feelings.
But yeah, anybody like really, really early Mac OS fans of Brickles out there? That was the like Mac Plus version of
A Breakout
of
Arkanoid.
It was Breakout. I don't think it had upgrades or anything.
Okay.
I think it was, and it was just like, here's the set of blocks. You beat them all. Here's a new set of blocks.
Oh.
You beat them all. Like
there was no variation.
It didn't have variations.
All right. Yeah. Fair.
Anyway. Oh man, now I'm thinking about Shufflepot Cafe.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. That's some good stuff. That Broderbund action. Shufflepot Cafe was like my favorite. Anyway. Boop, 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 boop. Speaking of retro games, Solitaire.
Right.
All right. Yeah. What kind of solitaire? There's a lot.
There's a lot of different types of solitaire. But have you tried Forbidden Solitaire?
I don't think that showed up in the book that I played with as a kid.
There.
No.
This is the solitaire that can never be spoken.
I'll be right back.
Beach isn't allowed to know about Forbidden Solitaire is all I got out of that.
All right.
What is Forbidden Solitaire?
Forbidden Solitaire is it's like a horror game of solitaire.
So is this just Inscription?
So the Steam page says it is 2019. You've brought home a strange yet familiar 1995 CD-ROM game from the thrift store. You vaguely remember seeing ads for this game and it causing some kind of controversy, but
Sure.
you never got a chance to play
Yeah,
it.
all right, why not?
Until now. I believe.
From the creators of ancient
Wait.
home safety gathered in protest.
I think it's solitaire, but it has like FMV stuff in it.
The raw experience.
No reason for it to be this violent. It's solitaire.
You might have a point.
Ah, blood.
Forbidden solitaire.
Scary.
From the
Wait, no, stop that. Yeah, I know you're only getting room mic audio from the game. I think hopefully that comes across if I send the actual PC's audio out to the stream. It's very, very loud for you guys.
Besides, I'm sure adding more audio quality to that would not have made it better.
And it's like a
You also
it's
have
got
the
some
internet.
like
You can look things up.
it's got some roguelike elements to it.
Oh yeah?
You're gonna be like do like runs.
Do I get to keep the cards that didn't work and I just get to use them?
I don't know. I get maybe it's got some sort of Balatro stuff going on where you have like
I should maybe play that game so
modifiers.
that when people say things like that, I understand a bit better.
Players will have to survive bloodletting solitaire gameplay and purchase upgrades between rounds from the friendly eye that watches you from the walls. And here we go. You also discover a variety of game-changing jokers, some helpful, some malignant. So yeah, that's the game-changing jokers is a Balatro thing.
Yeah. It sounds like kind of a combination of Inscription and Balatro. With solitaire instead of poker.
Yeah.
Or whatever card game Balatro is supposed to be.
I mean,
emulating.
You also looks like you are actually playing solitaire. You aren't just like Balatro. You aren't really playing poker.
There's some good solitaire games out there. I used to play, was it the golf one on iOS where you basically doing holes of golf?
Right. Or just the standard Windows Solitaire where
Windows Solitaire was fun.
where all the cards bounce out at the end.
I did get a book out of the library when I was a kid that had different versions of Solitaire you could play. So I played one called because I would play Solitaire with an actual pack of cards. I would play one called Around the Clock, which you have absolutely no agency in.
Right.
But it was fun to see if it worked out or not.
Yeah, yeah. There's a certain versions of Solitaire that are basically, a really complicated way of like sorting the deck.
Fairway Solitaire. That was the golf one. Thank you, Robert Kuhn. Yeah, there's like a story-based one now. I tried for a little bit. It's supposed to be like you're kind of going through chapters of a book, but I didn't really dig it. So
Story-based Solitaire.
yeah, it was something that I think you can get on Apple Arcade. We had a like trial run of stuff, so I played a few weird things.
I could certainly see doing Solitaire in the sort of Puzzle Quest style, right? Where it's like, the dragon is attacking. Solitaire fight. Like you have to play this solitaire game with some weird modifier.
Spider Solitaire was also a lot of fun. I could only do up to like I think 2 suits in Spider Solitaire though. And Free Cell, I didn't play Free Cell. My mom was going through when we had a computer at home when I was a kid. There was a thing in Free Cell where you could tell what game you wanted because supposedly every game of Free Cell you're supposed to be able to solve.
Right.
And she was going through number by number, and she keep track of what number she was on so she could input the next one to keep trying to beat them all.
I remember reading a thing about that, in that there's like a community that does, and there's something like 5 or so that are sort of proven not solvable, or they think that they're people think they're not solvable, and then every once in a while a news story will come out to be like previously unsolved solitaire level solved. All right, let's see what else we got going
Free
on
Cell
here.
and Dr. Mario were like the games you did not compete with Mom on.
Oh, your mom was a big Dr. Mario.
She was really good at it.
She didn't like just Tetris or anything. Eh? It was Dr.
Tetris didn't really like go for her, but she loved Dr. Mario.
Wow.
My dad and her would fight through Dr. Mario on the not like parents fighting, but like competitive
Ooh,
Dr.
nice.
Mario. Like, I couldn't get near the Nintendo.
Nice. Like, no, I wanted a Nintendo, but not like this.
What else we got?
Let's talk about. So this is actually ties slightly back into. So Civilization 7 is about to come out, I think. It is about to come out, or it actually is already out if you like pre-ordered it. I think you got it access a week earlier.
It is being advertised.
Yeah. But one of the things that they talked about when it was first being pushed and first being talked about was they revamped a bunch of the nations, the leaders, and also like the style of the thing and stuff.
Okay, sure.
And one of the things is they changed. So the Shawnee tribe, the First Nations tribe, has been working with Fraxis and 2K to make sure that there's a better representation of. I'm not sure if it's supposed to be the Shawnee tribe in particular, or whether it's their sort of if it's a more sort of general First Nations tribe. But they've been working with Fraxis to make sure there's a more accurate representation of the traditions and stuff. Warrior Chief Tecumseh, Tecumseh, is one of the advisors in the game, thanks to the Shawnee tribe members. But the other thing is Fraxis has supported the tribe by setting up a language center.
Okay.
And they just officially did a ribbon cutting a couple days ago, in order to work on recording their language, because this is a big problem with a lot of First Nation groups, is that their own language starts to get forgotten, and you know the people who speak it either lose that or pass away, or different things, and new people aren't being taught it. And so there's been a real push lately to record this things, get the elders and the people who still speak the language to record as much as possible, so that there is a record and
hear what it sounds like,
so you can hear
as well.
Yeah, because of course a lot of these languages, the written version of it is what we use as the written version of the language is the interpretation that sort of the Western linguists were like, okay, this is how we'll write that word, and we'll come up with the
phonemes for
the
it.
phonemes and stuff for it. But often isn't that, and it's not correct.
Yeah, I mean, most stuff written out doesn't really help you with sound necessarily.
Yeah.
Especially English, boy. We've
And
got
so
messed up writing.
And so it's important to actually get the recording in. So because there aren't that many people who speak it anymore, they get recordings, and they can use the recordings both as an archival thing, but also to teach new people stuff. So this is one of these things where it's like, it's just like a positive thing that came out of this game, which is good to celebrate sometimes, because
It's nice to know there's something positive happening,
Need that good news.
especially in the video game sort of space. Are we all gonna have laptops now? Just let me.
Sorry. I just remembered there's just a thing I
There.
got an email for.
It's like we match.
Great.
Ed Beach, Fraxis Games creative director, saying the Shawnee partnership has meant a lot to us. It's tough for us to find Indigenous peoples that trust us enough. We got in touch with Chief Barnes, and he knew everything about us, our product, and it's been such a rewarding partnership that it made sense for us to do what we could to help the Shawnee out. And this recording studio is just one element that seems like the right gesture. So
It's just that weird, the kind of like sub thing of like, dude's a massive Civilization fan. Total nerd.
yeah, I mean, he says this is actually the Chief Ben Barnes of the Shawnee tribe saying. Saying we have a first language speaker on staff. So now that we have him on staff, we can make full utilization of his time, and we can hear with his voice the music and the prosody of Shawnee language. So that lyrical quality that all languages have. We'll be able to capture that from a first language speaker. He says, I'm an old school video game player back from the Atari days. Oh, poor Chief Barnes. And I don't want to tell you this, but it's not the same Atari
Not the same Atari anymore.
So I knew who Fraxis Games was, and I knew the Civilization series.
Yeah.
Anyway. So it's cool. To be honest, it reminds me a little bit of some of the stuff that and it's probably not that big anymore, or doesn't happen that much anymore. But some of the stuff that Ubisoft did anyway with historical stuff, with a lot of their like the Assassin's Creed games and stuff, where they would work with historical groups, in the different things, and they would actually be like for Assassin's Creed Origins, they actually developed new ways of scanning and interpreting hieroglyphics. There's no reason why they had to spend that much work on it, but there was something that they were sort of passionate, got the developers were so into the Egyptian stuff that they kind of got passionate about it, and actually helped out a lot in the thing. I would guess that kind of stuff isn't emphasized that much at Ubisoft anymore. But.
I mean, I think the last one that we heard about would have been the Notre Dame.
Yeah, right,
thing.
Of course.
But also, we've had like a pandemic and lockdown and stuff, and that's, if there were efforts to have that going on, that's probably not helped.
Yeah. Well, and also, I mean, Ubisoft is a little bit on the back foot these days in terms of their development. So, anyway. Speaking of, no, wait, yes.
Is that one?
Speaking
I
of people, speaking of people on the back foot.
Did Cameron do that one?
I
can't remember.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, he did that one. I did the next one, and then I think
you find out who's on the back foot next week.
Yeah.
Speaking of somebody else on the back foot.
Yes.
Microsoft. But specifically here, we are talking about Microsoft's and their newer multi-platform initiatives. Now, this is coming from not from Microsoft. This is coming from a PlayStation executive.
But it's about Xbox.
Yeah, but he's saying because of course he was just had an interview. One of the topics they talked about was Microsoft's recent multi-platform stuff. So they've really sort of been a lot more open about allowing formerly exclusives beyond PS5 and different things like that. They're saying multi-platform is a good strategy, particularly in a world where the cost of development is increasing so dramatically. What do they do with their brand? It makes the conversation harder to create the FOMO, the fear of missing out. If you're forcing everybody to, like, it causes the sort of bad feels if you're forcing everybody to come to your brand.
Yeah, split between one side of like, I need to pick a PS5 or I need to pick the Xbox. Like, which one am I going to pick, right?
And you can use that, right? You can be like, you have to come over here to get our stuff. But the other tactic is you can say, no, you're not missing out. You know, you can have our game on whatever platform you want.
Yeah.
But it's the reason why this specifically got a headline was we've seen it before. I was in the business when Sega brought their Dreamcast titles to PS2.
Why did they do that?
In time, doing a lot of heavy lifting, Sega became a software-only company, and they've had a great transformation in that sense. So it does have a historical precedence.
The reason why Sega did that, though, is because they're in an existential crisis.
They had to.
Yeah, you either keep making something so the whole business can exist, or you walk away. And also, Sega underwent like a lot of different reorg and all sorts of other things, like, because didn't they merge with American Sammy at one point? And so it's like Sega Sammy Holdings is like the larger company now, and there's like all these different things. It's like, oh yeah, because then Sega went and did this. Like, yes. Now Microsoft's like, Xbox is not going to go anywhere if Microsoft says we're going to stop making a console. We're just going to concentrate on Xbox being our game division.
Right.
They're not going to go anywhere because Microsoft's got deep enough pockets. They'll be able to kind of prop up Xbox for a while. But I mean,
but like
likening them to Sega is like, you're basically saying like, yeah, you guys could give up on consoles and just be everywhere, and and kind of like take a back seat to a whole bunch of people who actually belong in the industry. Like, that's kind of how it sounds.
Just fast forward several years and let's not talk about what happened during those years.
Yeah. And it's also like, if you're talking about, the franchises, the blockbuster franchises that show how successful Sega is. Obviously, you've got Sonic, which is mostly a movie franchise at this point.
Yep. And a toy licensing division.
And TV.
Yeah.
They keep doing
TV shows. Yeah, that's true. And then you have Atlas kicking ass with their with the Persona games.
Absolutely.
But Sega bought them.
Sega bought them.
That's not like...
Yeah.
And you have the Like a Dragon series, which is also an acquisition, I believe.
Yeah, Yuga Gotoku Studio, I think, was like its own thing. I'm pretty sure. Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
So what I'm hearing,
I'm pretty sure like their big franchises, other than Sonic, are not actually Sega.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is you stop making your own stuff, acquire other people's stuff,
but
then you'll be okay.
In a way, Xbox has already done that, like by Microsoft saying we've acquired Activision Blizzard, and we've acquired like Bethesda and id and like all these other like gaming luminary studios by trying to pull them together under one tent, doing an Embracer Group essentially. By pulling them all together, it's like they are in a position that Sega was never in.
It's true.
They have that ability to be like, if we wanted to, like, what? And I think in a way there is that sense of, why are we? I'm sure every time there's a meeting at Xbox, there is a thing like, why are we still making a console again? And they're like, because if we don't make a console, we don't really have any cred in the industry as a gaming company, because all we would be doing is just, we'd be making games, we wouldn't be making the experience.
Right.
And I think there is that, there's kind of part and parcel to that sense of like, we want to make the experience for people. We want them to have a really great gaming experience. That's probably what's driving that idea. Like it's like Intel years ago said, "You're not a real man if you don't have your own fab." There was that whole thing that came out of Intel at that time because AMD didn't have any of their own chip manufacturing facilities, their own fabs, and they were getting them. They were having like other companies make their chips for them, and it's like, okay, sure, that doesn't matter anymore.
Right, and that sort of the idea that because Microsoft has always been like even earlier Xboxes has always been closer to like a PC
Yeah.
than
Well,
a lot of other consoles.
when
in
they
a lot of
entered the
ways.
gaming space, they started by making a console, didn't they?
Yeah. They said we're gonna be the ones who actually make like a good experience. We're gonna make the original Xbox. It's gonna be a Pentium 3.
But like the original Xbox was effectively off-the-shelf PC components.
Yeah. Yeah. They wanted it to be something that was like easily targeted to develop for.
Yeah. It was closer. Yeah, like the original Xbox in a lot of ways was closer to like what Valve was doing with like the Steam machine, where it was just like let's make a one target for developers.
Yeah.
As opposed to something where like Nintendo or whatever they're doing, where they're like we're gonna make this thing and it's gonna enable things that aren't
Yeah.
available. Aren't possible in other systems.
It's weird too, right? Because there is that like I like having a Nintendo console in my house that plays my Nintendo games and everything's fine. And ultimately, if it came down to it, if it was like, oh well, Nintendo doesn't make a console anymore. If they had just decided that we're not doing that, we're just going to make video games and we're going to put them on whatever console that's out there at the time. We're going to pick one and make it for that, or we're going to pick the PC platform and make it for that. Like whatever the future might hold, the next 50 years or something. I'm still playing games in when I'm 90, so I think I'd be okay with that. Ultimately, it's like if that's the direction the business goes in, then it's like, okay, I think I have to accept that that's what's happening, and now that's what I'm doing. And I don't think it would affect Nintendo's ability to make a video game for a specific, setup. I just also think they wouldn't like the experience as much. And I think that's maybe the same thing with Xbox. It's like if we are trying to get games made for a single target as opposed to, well, two targets at this point, but trying to make a game for a single target as opposed to making a game for a broad platform that has millions of variables built into it. There's something about the console experience and the kind of the curated toy level experience. I think that is the benefit of having a console in the first place. And I think Xbox tries to live that scenario. And I don't think they need to give up doing it.
Now, there was you were saying there's a story on
Ours? Yeah.
What was that about?
So there.
The patents.
Yeah. So for all the constant like belly aching I've been making about, hey, don't assume that the Switch 2 Joy-Cons can act like mice, can act like a computer mouse, because we don't know any of that yet. All we saw them was skating along the surface of a thing like in a video, and it feels like a lot of people are like jumping to conclusions. Well, now we have a patent that Nintendo filed that shows the Joy-Cons operating in a mouse-like mode, but also not like a mouse. Because the idea is defining a device that can operate like a computer mouse, but can also operate not like a computer mouse. And the patent shows it on its edge, being able to hold your thumb at the side of the joystick and whatever, and being able to press buttons and do whatever. It's like you can hold it like that, and it's supposed to be able to detect from the edge of the Joy-Con where it is, and you're supposed to be able to move it around, and it'll actually detect the change in, like an optical mouse does, basically, just saying it's acting like an optical mouse. Who knows what that's for? And also, who knows if they even implemented it? But the fact that in the video they show it skating along a surface like that, I'm like, I think that was meant to be a tell that it is supposed to operate like that.
Like I get why you like to rail against the whole this is the thing people are talking about, and I know that information came from potential leaks and rumors as well. I don't think you need to rail so hard.
What I dislike is when people do that stupid ass thing where they say, we were supposed to get this because we were supposed to have this thing they made up in their head. And they're like, but we were supposed to have that. And it's like, we were never supposed to have that. And people who do that use it as a cudgel constantly to say, but I remember they said they were going to do this. And then you have to turn around and be like, they were never going to do that. That was never a thing that they said. And it doesn't matter who the they is in this case, but it's like they never said they were going to do that. They never announced any sort of feature like that. Nothing ever came of that kind of idea. You decided that X thing meant Y when it never meant that at all. That's why I rail against that, because I'm like, it's people not being rigorous enough in trying to understand what's going on in industry. It's just them making up shit or reading people's rumors or speculating on their own without any sort of actual like critical thought. That's why I rail against that. I feel like I'll never be able to stop railing against that.
Well, if you want to keep fighting the ocean, you go for it.
I'm going to keep fighting the ocean.
How does the anyway?
How do you use it on a couch?
I'm like, I mean, that's always, it's like the two modes of operation, like mouse and keyboard versus controller,
yeah.
are sort of, you're fundamentally using them in a different sort of setup.
I picture it like I had a Logitech couch mouse. It worked pretty damn good. I actually don't know what happened to it.
You just like used it on the side of
Yeah.
the
So the way the couch mouse was made is it had a completely unibody, like a one-piece bottom on it, and it was rounded on the edges slightly. It still had a flat surface that you could use it on a flat surface, but the edges were rounded enough that it was like, it won't just like catch on the edge of fabric or something. And using it on a couch, it was like, yeah, this actually works. I can put this thing on the couch cushion beside me, and I can move the mouse around. It's nice and smooth, and the optical sensor was sealed so it wouldn't pick up lint from the couch. And so it's just like one smooth surface on the bottom, and you just kind of did whatever with it. And I'm like, this is a pretty good product overall, but it is pretty niche. And I needed it because I didn't have a computer desk at the time. So I was like, well, this is what I'm going to use.
Did the patent pictures show anything about the surface it was being used on?
No, they didn't show any real surface at all. They just showed that it's like the thing stands on its edge, and then you can have your fingers on where the control bits are still, and your other fingers on the buttons on top at this point. And I'm kind of like, yeah, I could kind of get that if they were going to do you want to play a game like Civ or
well, I mean, I've
whatever.
seen a lot of people with like the hopes of things like Mario Paint.
Yeah.
But probably more realistically, you'd get Mario Maker.
Yeah.
Just because like Mario Maker on the Wii U was a lot of fun with the second screen. Mario Maker
true.
on the Switch
Probably works fine on the touchscreen, maybe, but
probably, but if you're trying to do it docked,
yeah, it's not
you
gonna...
you lose your touchscreen at that point.
Yeah, there's definitely, I think, something about like that. I'm like, sure, if this works for certain interface options, or if they felt like we were being constrained, being not able to make certain types of games or having certain types of games because we don't have a mouse style input. Okay, then
I mean, a lot of systems these days will let you plug in a mouse.
Yeah,
that's true.
It's just not necessarily that there are games that really use it.
it would be very interesting if Nintendo released a wireless mouse that just like
I mean, I assume Hori will, or any of the other like third-party manufacturers, as long as there's like a thing that really actually uses it. Though,
Yeah.
right.
I mean, there is that aspect where it's like if you want to have a mouse capability and want to like release a sort of more proper mouse and have third-party manufacturers do it, including that functionality in the sort of base model, even if it's not like amazing, but having that so that a game developer can know that every player will have a mouse capability. You won't have to buy this accessory to use the game.
Yeah.
That's probably pretty powerful in terms of the sort of chicken and the egg, trying to get games that actually use the system onto the system. But anyway.
Yeah. I mean, if they're including that
Bluetooth.
in the... If that's like a feature of Switch 2, then chances are whatever games they launch with, there will be a couple among them that will use it, right? Nintendo typically does that when they have new hardware that does new things. There's usually something that shows off the point of using it.
And now, of course, the big question, if they have that, is how would the Switch 2 Lite work? You have to like take the entire thing and move it around on the table, which seems like that's going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah. God,
I mean, we're probably not. The Lite came out a couple years after the initial Switch.
Yeah, speculation about the Switch 2 is boring now, though, because we know everything. So now we have to speculate about things that are even further ahead.
like Rockpusher has an interesting idea that, you know, mouse plus a controller, right? If you have a controller to do your walking around shit in your left hand, right, and you're using the right thing as a mouse to be like, I'm going to use that to scroll my screen around like in a big hurry, because that's the thing about that versus joysticks is that mice feel like they're a little more twitchable, that are like, if I jam a joystick in a direction, it has to be a very sensitive push with the joystick. And that's always like, you have a limited range for what you can do with the joystick, try to get like sensitivity, where with a mouse, it's like I have lots of range of what I can do with something if I need to move it in a certain direction. I know lots of people FPS games with controllers already, that's fine, but that would be an interesting idea to be like, you've got your joystick in one hand and in your one Joy-Con, and your other Joy-Con is like flat down on a table or on your couch or whatever, and you're using it to like do your look and all that kind of crap.
That would be interesting.
It would be kind of interesting to see that happen. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, in April.
In April, yeah.
It's a long ways away yet.
But not as long as
Not
it
as
probably seems now.
Yeah, it's getting closer.
There's been some consternation back and forth about Dragon Age Veilguard.
Oh, right.
And whether it should
right.
whether it should have been a live service game or whatever.
Because it's failed.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't do
only-
whatever it was they wanted it to do, I guess.
It only made 150 million, or no, it only sold 1.5 million copies.
Right.
They only told people they were loaning them out to certain positions, and then surprise, those were permanent.
But
Wait.
anyway, the part I want to talk about here is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Kingdom Come 2, Deliverance 2? Who knows?
Delivered to your kingdom near
Kingdom
you.
Come Deliverance 2
Okay.
is also just came out.
Okay.
And in some ways, has a lot of similarities. Another sort of dark medieval
Okay.
RPG.
Okay.
Sword and sorceries type thing?
No, are we talking like medieval, or are we talking medieval fantasy, like there's dragons? Because those are two different things. You can have fantasy without dragons. It's not as fun.
It's true.
Or you can have fantasy with dragons, which is more fun.
Dragon Age had dragons in it, I assume.
I assume so.
Yeah.
I don't.
To be honest, I haven't played either.
I've only played a few hours in, and I'm trying to remember if I actually saw a dragon yet. I don't think
No.
I have yet.
Kingdom Come Deliverance, I think, is more historically
Medieval. So
Boring
dudes with swords
fantasy.
and
proper medieval. Whereas Veilguard is anyway. Whatever the case, as a point of comparison, I guess, Kingdom Come Deliverance, single player game,
Yeah.
and it's just been doing gangbusters in terms of sales.
Oh, I see.
Now, the funny thing, that like 1.5 million number that has been thrown around for Veilguard, I'm not sure what the time, how long that represents.
Right.
I don't know how long Veilguard. I don't think Veilguard's been available for that long.
It came out in like October.
Like I thought it was been at least like a few months, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
It was definitely at the end of last year, I think.
Someone's gonna say, but yeah.
But anyway.
At least November, because I had it in November.
But Kingdom Come Deliverance apparently has sold at least 1 million copies on like day 1 or day 2.
Okay.
So very good. I've seen a lot of stuff, like a lot of the stuff I've seen about Veilguard is people are like, it's not that it's a live service game, it's that it's not actually
that entertaining.
It doesn't. It's like this. The Dragon Age has always been like about the story and the characters and stuff, and we don't really like the story and the characters in this game.
Okay.
Which live service will not help that.
I mean, I haven't met them all yet, but I like the ones I've run into so far. So I.
Oh, you've been.
Yeah. I'm a few hours in.
Nice.
I just met. His name's like Lucicio Lucanio. He's a.
Did you play the first Dragon Age?
No, this is my first one.
Okay.
So I don't have baggage.
That might be why that it might be a comparative thing, right? Where it's like people who were big fans of the original might have been looking at this to be like, all right, new Dragon Age,
Maybe,
whatever, and then they looked and they're like, oh
I
wait,
think it's just a person-to-person thing because I know two people who've played the heck out of the first Dragon Ages who love this one,
right?
And I know other people who've also played the first couple who don't like this one.
And it might also be could also be that Vilgard, like, this might be a slow acquisition, right? Like maybe EA wins on the long tail on this one. That's like, maybe you will have continuous steady sales for the next, or actually, now that I mentioned the word sales, maybe that's what a lot of people are waiting for, is to be like, yeah, I didn't hear a lot of great stuff about this game, but I do want to play it, so I'll wait until they drop it to $30. That could be happening too, right? So, yeah, it's you don't know what the market's motivation is, other than it's clear that they didn't sell 5 million copies on release day, kind of idea. It's like a whole bunch of people didn't come at the game immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of too bad for BioWare.
Yeah. But so yeah, we'll see. And yeah, one could argue that if it was unlike a live service type game, the long tail works a lot better with a game like that where you don't have to maintain servers and stuff.
Absolutely.
It'll just keep selling.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, it's too bad.
So let me see here. I think that was all of the stories that I wanted to talk about here. Like I said, there were some other stories, but we have more extensive pre-written things to tell you about.
Right. So we'll wait till ChillPoint has its chance to talk about them, and then we can talk about them.
Yeah.
Was there something else that came out on ours that I was like, this was also an interesting gaming story? I swear I saw a thing on ours that wasn't the Switch thing.
What are you playing right now, Paul?
Right now, I just finished. Like I said, I think I mentioned before, I was doing sort of a replay of Assassin's Creed Black Flag.
Right.
So I just finished that up. Lots of fun. And surprisingly heartfelt story to it. Between, hundreds and hundreds of stabbing people. You kind of, there's a little bit of that, like, what do they call ludonarrative dissonance? Where it's like, it's like you have this sort of cutscenes of people, and they're like, "Oh, you think you're so noble as you're not so much better than me," and you're like, I mean, I did kill like a lot of people to get to this point in the game. I do feel a little bad. Maybe you do have a point there, evil guy. I'm so glad it didn't, at least it didn't, Assassin's Creed never has, and I'm thankful for this, never has done the, like, do you want to spare the big boss man that you killed 500 of his minions to get to? Do you spare him even though he did all the bad thing?
Right.
It's like, no. He gets killed. Which... definitely, I appreciate it. Whenever I play a game that like gives me that choice, the guy's always going to go down.
Fair.
Yeah, because it's like, otherwise, what are we doing here?
Right. Yeah. The whole point was I was supposed to, stand up against you. So.
Yeah. What about you, Beach? What have you been playing?
Dead Cells.
You're still
right.
on that, eh?
And Wonder. Yeah. So what happened with Dead Cells?
Dead Cells and Wonder.
Yeah, Dead Cells and Wonder. So okay, let's
very opposite.
Mario Wonder.
Uh-huh.
I finished every stage in Special World on like the first rung of Special World, except for
Are you still trying to fight that time one?
Jump Part 2. The one where you have to jump up.
Yeah.
Because there's a single yellow block that I have to be able to jump off of, and I've only hit that jump once, and I have wasted about 40 lives.
He's
on
so
that
close
level.
to the end, you can tell.
Yeah.
But
of course, when you
play
played the original Jump, I remember in the video, like, you were getting very close to the end too, and that's the part where everything is quite fast, and it's like you can be off by like a split second and just not land on something and make it to the end. And I did beat the first Jump again after wasting about 30 lives on it. And now here we are in Special World, and I'm like doing this jump thing. The problem I've run into is my hand cramps up.
I'm trying to remember.
I'm glad.
I think I think the second one was the one that I really did get stuck. That I got real stuck on.
Yeah.
And that's the one that I was like at the end of every stream. I was like, I'm gonna spend like 10 lives on this one. And yeah, I was honestly at one point I like stopped playing it. I was like, I'm gonna stop playing it because I bet at some point, like, I'll get an upgrade.
A badge, yeah.
I'll get a badge that's like auto run badge. And I'll be like, that'll be great. Because yeah, it's the same thing. It's the holding and then
rocking back and forth.
Rocking to do the jump. And especially the like pipe, like a chimney thing where you like go back and forth.
Yeah.
Getting that rhythm with and hitting the jump with the sort of not the pad of your thumb, but the
bone of your thumb, yeah.
Because you have to hold the run all the time.
Yeah.
That definitely did.
So you got did you use Fast Dash? Was that the name of the badge that you used for that? Or
no, well, I was annoyed because there ends up not being a badge to auto run.
Right.
So I was like, I was really hoping there would be one that I could do that, so I wouldn't have to hold the run button.
Because there's like a jet dash badge you can get, but it means that you're always dashing, and it's like that means you'll just fall off.
Yeah. It's the problem. Yeah, none of the movement badges really helped in that one.
Yeah.
Because it's all timed out for your regular movement. Yeah.
I end up using the what I have right now is I have the second jump. If you shake the controller or press R to do the additional little bit of height. Things so you can like get like a little bit extra, and I'm like, that has saved me multiple times there. As rather large toad says, try using the mushroom badge just for the auto super mushroom at the beginning of the stage.
I think that's
so
what I ended up. I think that's how I ended up doing it.
So maybe I'll try that too. But yeah.
Anyway.
But then Dead Cells, the reason
Mario Wonder is the hard game.
Yeah, Dead Cells I've been having an easy time with actually.
Dead Cells.
So I played. This is the weird thing. So I played Dead Cells on Apple Arcade on the Apple TV because I wanted to see what it was like. Because I was kind of not really sold on it as a game like. I like I like Rogue Legacy because it has the Metroidvania trappings and it's the roguelite kind of atmosphere and whatnot. But the finding of weapons and picking up and like having to buy stuff and do, it was kind of like I don't know how this is going to go. And I tried it on our Apple TV and I was just like, I'm not having a good time. Like this is just not, the control doesn't feel right. Something's wrong, right? I download the game trials on the Switch for Dead Cells and play that. And within about 15 minutes, I'm like, oh, this actually feels pretty good. And within about an hour, I was like, I'm fucking locked in. Like, this rules. This is so fun. And I think it was like about my fourth or fifth time through, not through to the end of the game, but through like, because I died. But I think the fifth time that I actually like attempted to do something is when I finally made it to the end of the game. And killed the hand of the king and then killed the king and then you have to like
kill the other hand of the king and the foot of the king
and then I spit myself out of my body because at the beginning of the first one when you die a whole bunch of you get blown away by it because you killed the king, but then the king explodes and he destroys your body, and then your little like weird blob character thing digs its way out of the rubble and then goes up through the pipes and you start the game again. You do your next run. And then I ended up doing another run as well. And the thing that was holding me back the most was going to different levels to find the mid bosses that will drop your permanent upgrades, like your permanent like wall jump climb kind of thing that you can do.
Right.
And in finding those, I was like, that's what's actually unlocking more of the game for me for things to do. And I was like, I really, really like this, but oh no, I really, really like this to the point of I will play this for 5 hours nonstop. and that's a non-starter. I can't do that. So the game trial is up, and I don't think I'm going to buy a copy of it because I'm too afraid that I'll sink all of my free time into it.
Wow. Okay.
And also because the motivation behind playing it ultimately is I feel like I'm slowly getting I'm unlocking the things, but my character isn't becoming more powerful. I'm just understanding what loadouts I like, and those are the things that I want to do. It's only the weapons that really make you more powerful in the game. It's kind of like playing a Zelda game, right? It's like Link never actually hits somebody with more power unless he gets a better sword.
Right.
It's always one hit, kind of thing. And I'm fine with that generally, but in Metroidvanias, for some reason, I feel like I want to be given more health, or so that I permanently have more health, or that I want to be I have a slight RPG buff, that I'm a little Rogue Legacy. I want that kind of idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm definitely in the camp of the when I play roguelite kind of games. I want some kind of outside the game progression,
like Hades has.
Yeah, and I want there to be. Yeah, the idea that
I mean, Hades is really strong because it's got story progression, as opposed to just
That's true.
your character getting more powerful, which is still some really good
Dead
progression.
Cells.
I do prefer a rogue that lets me do that, but Hades is so strong with the story progression that's ultimately what I want.
Yeah, you end up doing more runs just because you want to see what's going to happen in the story, as opposed to actually what's going on in the.
And it's so compelling.
Sometimes you do a run not because and you're I don't really care about this run.
Yeah.
I just want
I
something to change.
I didn't want to decorate anything if Hades wasn't there to grumble about the thing I was putting up.
Right?
Right? It was just oh, he's not around. Well, I can't put up a new picture. He won't say anything.
Or you'll come back and you're so excited and you'll go talk to Hades because you're what is he going to say now? What's the thing that we've unlocked? What's the other thing? And it's just more grumbling about just normal shit. And I'm just kind of I wanted you to have more. I want there to be more story, and that was really the drive to get to the end of the game to meet Persephone, right?
Yeah.
So many games have you can customize your house as just a little thing that they put into the game.
Yeah.
I think a lot of those, I don't find that a particularly compelling gameplay addition when it doesn't have any other, when it's a purely sort of cosmetic thing. It doesn't actually have any implications in the game. But I think if more games just had an NPC there who just either commented or complained about the thing you just upgraded, I think that would encourage me to be spending a lot more time on the.
Every time, because if you do get up to fight Hades and you lose there, right? He's still up there, so he's not down when you come back.
Right.
And it's oh, but I don't want to put the thing up. You're not here. Which I know you're just gonna be oh, I see. It's awfully vain of you, or whatever, some kind of thing. But I want to hear it.
But yeah. I mean, I do think, like I said, I just finished up Assassin's Creed, and I tend to, I sort of will take breaks between games.
Yeah.
Where I'll just it's I'm not emotionally prepared to get into another big game yet.
Well, you still gotta process the one you just finished and kind of
And so I've been playing a little bit, gone back into playing some more Deep Rock Galactic, which is my go-to relaxation game, which seems weird because it's claustrophobic underground dark caverns with spiders attacking you.
So it's
just relaxed,
like Subnautica.
Yeah. But it's the thing is, I haven't played it for a while, and they do an amazing job of adding new interesting content to they do sort of seasons and stuff, and then they have in this season these other guys are attacking you, or in this season there's this horrible thing happening, and so there's a bunch of new activities and new mission types and things that I hadn't actually played before. So it's quite fun. It's oh, cool.
You get the comfort style of the game you've played before, but there's new stuff for you to explore.
Yeah.
So you still get some of the cozy with some new
Yeah, it's like, oh, all the like, oh, this guy has like a new weapon now that he didn't have, that a new option for his weapon that he didn't have before and stuff. So, I've been enjoying that, but I don't know. I'll probably move on to something else soon.
Yeah, Dead Cells was just like Dead Cells feels like a very pure experience of just like everything about it feels like a very pure experience. And I did find out the other day, and I was like, oh, this is dangerous.
There's a couple of expansions for it too, aren't there?
The entire game,
Castlevania,
including all the DLC, is available through Netflix games.
Oh,
And I was like, oh shit, because I have a Netflix account, or I have access to Netflix account.
But then you have to play it on like Apple TV or whatever.
No,
right?
you got to play it on your phone or iPad, because those are the only two options. And I'm like, I
Which-
don't know why Netflix doesn't have the ability to put the games on Apple TV. I feel like that's a thing that they could
Like-
maybe lobby for, but
I don't know.
I don't want to do this shit
I was
with
gonna
my
say,
phone.
I really don't like playing games like that on
Yeah.
the all like. I mean, I guess you could probably get like a wireless controller or something.
Well, and that's
pair
a-
with
oh,
it,
you can
Yeah.
you can pair a controller.
But then
to
you're
your
like
phone,
sitting
but it's
there
still,
with like your iPad or whatever.
It's not going to be a thing.
It's not
Peach
fun.
wants to
I
do.
have Castlevania Symphony of the Night on my phone because I saw it was on sale at one point, and I was like, I'm going to buy that's the only Castlevania game I've never played because it was PS1 only, right?
Right.
And so I'm like, I'm going to buy that,
Dreamcast, I think.
and then I'm going to plug it into my TV. No, I'm going to mirror it to my Apple TV, and I'm going to put it on a charger.
Yeah, I remember this.
And then I'm going to borrow a controller from her because she had an extra PlayStation controller. So I'm like, I'll just borrow that. And then I'm going to play it. And it was a middling experience to play it. I played it for about 20, 30 minutes. And I was like, I can't tell if the game sucks compared to all modern like Metroidvanias,
Probably just buy it on the PlayStation.
or if it sucks because I hate this controller, because I really don't like the controller.
The
Okay,
experience,
well, that'll help.
like I've definitely, I always talk about like I've got Epic Games Store and Amazon Prime and stuff, and so
Yeah.
you get tons and tons and tons of free games, but I have bought games that I have for free already on my PC. I've bought Switch versions of them because some games it's just such a better experience. It's like I'll never play this if I have to like sit in the
Front of your computer
in front of my computer, or even
Yeah.
I have my computer hooked up to my TV that I can boot that up, but it's a bit of a bit of a process, and you have got to make sure that the audio is switched over properly. And
No, half the time
all
when I'm
stuff.
picking a game to play, it's like, where do I want to be when I play the game? Do
Right.
I want to sit in the living room? Well, then these are my options. Do I want to be in this specific spot in the living room that's not accessible to the TV? Well, it's my Switch and my laptop that are my best options, because I've set up PlayStation Remote for my laptop, and it is, even in the same house, it is not, and on a PS5, it is,
the latency.
the latency is there, and I like to play action games.
Well, you're playing
So-
like action games and rhythm games.
Well,
and
I
stuff.
test it with rhythm games because I'm like, there's no reason
Right.
why
Yeah.
to see how far off it is. But even with an action game, and for some reason my computer's constantly losing connection to it, so that's not happening.
And the third thing of my Symphony of the Night setup was like, or maybe the game just feels bad, like the latency is bad or whatever, because I am simply mirroring my phone to the Apple TV, and that's introducing latency with a wireless controller and everything else put together. It's like, maybe this all sucks because it's a bad way to play this game. And ultimately just was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I just would rather, I'll wait until some day in the far-flung future when the Konami decides that they fuck up and they accidentally put it on the Switch or something. And
I mean, they might eventually.
I mean, the
They
fact
got
that the
that,
Castlevania collections all came out and not a single one of them has Symphony of the Night on them, and they released 3 different collections. I'm like, I think they know that they can't release it anywhere but on Sony for some reason. There's probably an exclusivity agreement for that game, so that is in perpetuity until the stars wink out and the sun goes nova. What are you playing?
So I've been playing Veilguard. I'm not super far into that. I'm a elven rogue veil jumper.
What is a veil jumper?
They're the people who go in and look at.
Boingy, boingy.
They jump veils.
They go in after artifacts and stuff.
Oh, okay. So like explorers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You run into
Tomb
veil
Raiders.
jumpers at the beginning of the game, and they're mad at you. So at least they were mad at me because I was one of them. Because I guess my backstory states that I helped people escape instead of putting priority on keeping a map safe. So the people I helped escape like me, and then all the people were like, "Yeah, but you let that map go," and I'm like, "Okay." So that's kind of fun. I'm having fun with it. Like I haven't played Mass Effect or any of the other Dragon Age games. So
BioWare games, you mean?
I mean,
yeah, but that style of like
I think,
Oh, I
making
see what you're saying.
choices
Okay.
and
Yeah.
and I think there is an aspect where it's sort of the like art style and things diverges a fair amount from
probably.
the previous ones. So I think there is an aspect of that
yeah.
that if people were hoping for more of the other, then it's different.
I keep taking the dialogue choice that I call the sarcastic option because it does seem like constantly the sarcastic thing to say.
Except but the question is whether your character is saying it sarcastically or truthfully.
It always comes across pretty sarcastic to me. Yeah, I'm having a pretty decent time with that, but yeah, I'm still kind of like early on. And then I did start playing Super Mario Wonder. I've done the first world of that.
So good.
And that's pretty fun.
I had to look up a guide to find out where I was missing one seed from World 1. And I had to look up a guide to be like, which one of these things had a separate exit.
Was it the
Piranhas.
The piranha dancing?
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
I spent so long going around different areas and to find that one.
Because Mario World did a thing where if you were playing Super Mario World, yellow dots meant that there was a single exit from the stage, and red dots meant there were multiple exits. So you could always go look,
Right.
where have I not found multiple exits from? And there's no way of knowing that from Mario Wonder. But which is I hate that. But
It tells you which areas have the seeds in them, doesn't? Oh no,
unless it's a secret exit, they don't always tell you.
right.
Yeah.
You
It's
can
the
sort
third-
of
the
tell
third
because
seed.
it does them in order, so you know it's
Yeah.
like it must be before this one.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Anyway.
I mean, it's a really good game. The layout, the design, the power ups are fun.
Yeah. They knocked
I like
it out
the
of the
fact
park.
that they got rid of the stupid timer,
Oh yes.
especially since there's secret exits. Because that's always been one of the hardest things for me in a game is the amount of tension and stress you feel when you're just trying to find like an alternate out.
I played. I was playing New Super Mario Brothers, new Luigi
Oh.
U
Oh yeah.
a while ago, and I thought it was like, oh, more Mario U. I enjoyed Mario U. I want to play more of that. I didn't
quite.
realize it's basically, Mario U, but they just make everything harder.
Oh, the lost
Yeah.
levels. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's lost levels. Yeah.
we give you Luigi, but also now everything's harder.
Now everything's harder, and every level starts at 99 seconds. Like it
Yeah.
starts with the and which I thought was like a great metaphor. It's like there's the thing where it's like Luigi, Luigi is a big coward. It's like one of his things, right?
Yeah.
He's like
Yeah.
always like, oh. It's like, no, this is what life is like for Luigi.
Yeah.
It's like every level is more difficult. He has less. That's why he has to run everywhere.
Yeah.
He has less time. It's like Mario has just like is so relaxed because he has it easy.
Yeah,
When Luigi goes to the exact same level that Mario does, it's an entirely different, more difficult
it's
version.
like Luigi is
and he
the
has no
strongest
time.
of them because Luigi deals with more terrifying things than Mario does for breakfast.
I feel like Luigi's problem, like the idea is like, oh well, he's supposed to be like cowardly, but he finds
Right.
courage and he stands up, kind of thing. Like, I don't think it's cowardice. I think he has an anxiety problem.
I mean that too, probably.
Well,
And-
I mean, for some reason, he's the one who always has to deal with the ghosts.
But it constantly puts him on edge and makes him scared of things that are happening around him all the time. And it's like he probably knows it's not real, or even that when they are real because they're actual freaking ghosts. That it's kind of like
they can kill you.
yeah, I have a lot to deal with right now, and it just kind of like changing that mindset of like, oh, he just has an anxiety problem, and if he could take something for it, maybe that would help him a lot, right?
I mean,
But
the mushrooms aren't helping.
maybe. At the same time, I think he might be also be completely traumatized.
Yeah.
He has no other way to deal.
That's fair.
But
yeah.
but you know, in regards to what you were saying, like I only played a little bit through it. Not even that, because like it was difficult, but like, you know, I wasn't doing too badly, but it was just like not that fun to go through these like really neat levels,
Right.
And like I couldn't stop to look for secrets. I couldn't stop to do everything because every level has this ridiculously short timer on it.
Right.
And it's just like, I don't like being rushed like this.
And it's probably, like, for all I know, you get to the end of the game, right? You finish the game, and then it's like, great, we've taken the timers off now. You can go back and explore the levels if you want to.
Yeah.
Who knows? But
Probably
who
not.
cares?
Most Mario games I remember playing would be like, oh, you finished the game, great. There's more. And it's like, oh, that's cool. Maybe you get to play as Luigi now. Maybe you get to do whatever. But there's more levels. And it's like, great. We're going to introduce to you Shadow Mario all the time. Like, fuck off. That is not a fun way for me to play.
I mean,
Hate Shadow Mario.
like the fact that what they learned in making Wonder was that you don't need, they learned this a while ago, you don't need points for the game to be fun.
Right.
So just, nobody cares about points anymore, just get rid of points. Well, then how do we...
Especially when they don't do anything.
Yeah, it's like they're not good for anything than bragging rights, and nobody brags about, I scored 50,000 points in Double Dragon. Nobody gives a shit about that anymore, right? So it's like the getting rid of points, and instead in Wonder having like the whole, if you knock down a whole bunch of enemies in a row, and it's just like, good, great, fantastic, super, wonderful, you know, that I love that.
Talking Flowers are a lot of fun.
Talking Flowers are amazing that they put that in the game.
What language are you using?
Using English.
Yeah.
I know that's not as interesting as French, but I don't have time to read them.
French Canadian.
Right.
Oh, that's right.
Right.
They're like the word balloons in English, but they speak in French Canadian.
Oh God,
It's amazing.
I had thought about changing the language options just so that I could like hear what they sound like in other languages, and I was like, but I really like the English guy's voice, so. But yeah, also having no timer in a level and just letting you do.
Yeah, because
And-
there's plenty of like.
I mean, a
I
lot of
even like the auto scroll levels
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
which
but
never
like-
happens.
A
It's
lot
like,
of the stuff
you don't
are-
need a timer in an auto scroll level.
No.
yeah, or either auto scroll or like whatever's happening with like the wonder effect effectively makes it auto scroll.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you just don't need a timer for that kind of thing. I've been playing offline, but I've been watching Beach play with the online active, so that there's like the ghosts walking around of other people playing.
It's
Which,
amazing.
For one thing, I'm surprised that you're running into people as often as you are still,
Yes.
because that game is like a year old.
Yeah.
I never I don't know. It doesn't seem.
It's so good, Paul. You have
Why?
no idea.
So you
Multiple reasons. You're about to hear.
You see these ghosts walking around. Now they won't interact with anything going on your level, so sometimes they look like they're doing something just completely off the wall, but it's because like a thing is happening for them that's not happening for you. But if you die and you can go touch one of them, you can come back, like the signposts
Right.
did. But sometimes you just watch like people do stuff and then constantly fall off and then like try to get to each other and
Yeah.
like and
I was in a
it's-
badge challenge stage
yeah.
where a guy ran off the edge of the level and died, and then swam up to me, like, because they're like you know, they're like yelling shit out, and they're flying like a little ghost. They come and they touch you, and so I eventually just stopped and stood where I was and just let them fly at me. And then there was one point where in a level, the guy like jumps off and he dies, and I was like standing on the edge, and he came back, and as he came back, I jumped up into the air and I touched him in the air, which meant that while he was in the air, he could actually jump up and he could jump to the next level of the stage. And I'm like, we could help ourselves by
Yeah.
doing this, but I did that like 5 times for him, and because I'm trying to figure out how I should actually proceed through the stage, and eventually I was like, nah, we're done. Like, I've helped you 5 times already, dude, and you keep coming back and trying to get help from me again. No. I gave you your opportunity to cheat, and we're not going any further.
It's interesting in some levels because you can kind of use it to get past things, but maybe you were having a hard time with if you can catch up to the people, because you only get like 5 seconds.
I passed
but,
3 of the special stages by doing that.
But like the level that Beach was that he's still working on with the time jumps, the jump whatever one. It's really kind of funny to watch people try to run after someone to get help because you can't stop to help them.
Right.
That won't. You'll just end up dying.
Yeah.
And most of the time they can't catch up to you fast enough to help. But even if you can, like if you can catch someone or they can catch you, your level timings are not the same as whatever level timing is going on for them.
Yeah.
So
Right.
even if you can catch somebody, there's nothing for you to touch to keep going.
Yeah,
most of
like
the
there's
time.
no
Like,
way
it
you
just
can
doesn't
recover
work.
from that. Yeah.
It's kind of funny to watch.
There's just the outside chance that maybe you'll touch them at the right time and you'll fall onto bricks and the purple ocean won't catch up to you and kill you. And it's like, I'm going to try for it. And you make a run for it.
It's just really actually interesting to see as a mechanic.
Yep.
It's not necessary to play the game or whatever, but it's kind of funny to watch other people move around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Yeah.
And then I accidentally played Slay the Spire the other night. So.
Accidentally, in the sense that you got stuck playing it.
Well, I was just like, I want to play something, but I don't want to do anything too much. And like, here's the laptop, and it's a MacBook. So what games do I have that on Steam that I'll actually play on it? And Slay the Spire was already on it, and I was like, yeah, I'll play that. And then several hours happened.
That was like me in Dead Cells, right? It was like the other night I said to Heather, I'm like, I finished playing, I was finished doing whatever, and then I like decided to, I think I was playing Wonder, and I was like, oh, I'm done doing this now. And then I was like, what do I want to do? I should go to bed. And then I started Dead Cells, and I got all the way to this, just past the screens of saying who made the game, and I smashed the home button and I turned it off because I was like, no, that was bad. You made a poor decision and you recovered from it fast enough, and it's time to go to bed.
I mean, the problem with something like, with Dead Cells or whatever, like, Mario Wonder, you've got, there's sort of like the levels, and so you sort of do a level and stuff.
And you can be done in about 3 minutes, yeah.
But like Dead Cells, the problem is, the better you do, the longer you're going.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're on a particularly good run, you don't, which is precisely when you don't want to stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the fun
Yeah.
thing about Slay the Spire 2, especially if you play it on Steam, is there's mods.
Oh.
Ooh.
And I forgot because it was just like the thing popped up that was like, do you want to play with mods or do you want to play without mods today? And I'm like, oh,
You forgot what mods you had installed?
I have a mod on this? All right. I have the Rhythm Heaven mod.
Oh, that adds like new characters?
It's a character with a specific deck set that people have made that to make it work, you have to, I think it's like you play, certain cards have to be played on certain beats or like turns or something.
Oh, wow.
It's actually a pretty interesting one. I could probably force it onto Rhythm Cafe at some point.
Nice.
But yeah, there's some people just do reskins, right? It's like you play, you're playing the same characters, but I don't know, it looks like Sailor Moon or something, and we've redesigned the cards, but they're all the same thing.
But this was actually like a whole new mechanic.
Yeah, this is a different mechanic, which is why they're making Slay the Spire 2, and I'm curious to see why it needs to be Slay the Spire 2.
And not just like more.
Just not like more characters or an expansion pack or something to add in.
I guess they want to shake it all up. But
yeah.
All right. Well,
Still a good game.
That's what we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Shall we go?
Yes, and as folks in the chat say, yeah, Ode to Joy in Peggle was the most brilliant. I think that was like one of the first, for me anyway.
Mm-hmm.
That was like one of the first and like purest of like, well, now I have to go to the next. Like it just it's such a great ending. Like you played the original.
Never
Peggle,
played Peggle.
So in the original Peggle, it had whatever algorithms it had. Basically, could figure out if you were like you would hit all the pegs,
Right.
and then as your ball was coming into the final peg, the screen would zoom in.
Okay.
Zoom in. There'd be a drum roll, and then sometimes it would do this also if you were going to very slightly miss.
Oh.
So sometimes it would go past and go like, oh. But if it would go drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, drum roll, You hit it, and then it plays Ode to Joy, like da da da
Yeah, yeah,
da, da, and fireworks go off from everywhere, and it is just like the best feeling.
Right.
And they did sort of similar things in other Pego games, but I don't know if it ever quite matched that level of just like celebration for beating a level. You're like, yeah, I want to go on to the next thing.
Right. Yeah, yeah. Because you get all jazzed from seeing it happen. Right.
Yeah, there's nothing like a good music and visual
Yeah.
effect to make you go, I need to keep playing
I'm so good at this.
for you to
Yeah.
lose all your
You-
time.
Original Plants vs Zombies was very good for not for music,
Man, no,
but
that game
because
was awesome.
because every single level you would unlock a new plant, and so you're like, wow,
Yeah.
I gotta see what
gotta
this
see what
new
it
plant
does.
does.
I mean, yeah. Freaking, I mean, in Dead Cells, on this my second playthrough, I was wandering around the prisoners' quarters. Second playthrough, right? I died once. I'm just playing the second time. I'm wandering around the prisoners' quarters, exploring everything because that's how I play that game. I walk down a hallway and I run across the Hollow Knight bench
Right.
and streetlight, and I'm just like, it's so iconic that, I mean, to people who've played Hollow Knight, but it is so iconic that I was just like, oh, I love this game. Like, just immediately was like, I love this game, that they decided that, and then you explore it, like you go up to it and you interact with it and you dig out the nail and you can use the nail as a weapon. And I'm like, right. Everything about this game is tailored to keep you interested, because you come back the third or the fourth time, you wander through prisoners' quarters again, you come across something else that wasn't there before.
Right.
And you're like, oh, what's this? And then you realize this is the monolith from Hyper Light Drifter.
Yeah.
Or this is the something from Guacamelee. And you're like, right.
Yeah.
That if it's a game you're familiar with already,
A
we
lot of
integrated
other
into this game.
roguelike or
Yeah.
Metroidvania style indie games, mostly.
Finding the Half-Life items was just like a fun moment to just be like, now there's this. And I'm like, wow, cool. Like, this game is full of Easter eggs. Of course, it's going to want to make you keep hunting for Easter eggs. Oh my God, that's how they keep you playing it. So, yeah.
Yeah, and yes, unfortunately, the subsequent Plants vs Zombies games were very, very disappointing.
Those don't. Nobody needs those. First one,
I
great.
Was the only game, yes.
yeah, I do love there's that feeling like when you find there's that the dichotomy of finding a secret thing in a game.
Mm-hmm.
I remember this happened just most recently. This happened with the Zelda.
With Echoes of Wisdom?
Yeah, Echoes of Wisdom. I remember I like found a secret, and I was like, "Oh, great! I found the secret," and it was like, I think it was like there was like something that was like underneath a bush or something.
Sure.
And I like destroyed it, and I was like, "Oh, I found a thing! Great!" Uh-oh. That means that any of these bushes throughout the entire game could have secrets under them.
Yes.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Now I have to look under everything.
I mean, they're not quite, in this day and age, it's not quite like Zelda 1 where you have to bomb the entire wall to see if you can find anything.
Yeah.
Oh God!
they-
Like
they-
burn this one bush to find the entrance.
They
to
usually.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I've been playing, you know, enough Tears of the Kingdom and stuff.
Right.
You know, the Tears of the Kingdom is so good at, you know, the like figuring out like where a Korok will be or whatever.
Right.
It's like, and you start to get that kind of like that like sixth sense about it. You're like, why is that rock there?
Yep.
There's no reason for that rock to be. And what's great about Tears of the Kingdom is almost every time you're rewarded for that.
Yeah.
And so you get that kind of feeling a little bit too.
It is one of the things that I liked about Tears of the Kingdom is they added in the extra Korok things, like the camping Koroks and stuff. So it's like, these ones are visible. And if you solve this little problem to get from the one guy back to the other side, we'll give you 2 Koroks for the sake of actually doing the work. And I'm like, that's not a
Yeah,
bad
but they
idea.
deserve to be where they are.
I was often not very nice to the Korok that needed to travel.
Sure. No, I
There's
was-
a couple times, like I definitely, you know, he's fallen a long ways. I've attached him like to the bottom of things that drop.
Yep.
He's fine.
Yeah.
Remember those like you'd find like the stone for the shrine that you had to return to the area to make the shrine show up?
Yeah.
And there'd be those islands where you'd find the stone like up above and you just had to get it like maybe slightly down below.
Yeah.
There were so many times where it was like, okay, I just need to throw it right.
Yeah.
And then it goes,
Yeah.
yeah.
But I wouldn't give up on throwing it because that was more fun.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I thought the Korok buddies was sort of a fun thing.
Oh no, I think they're great.
The two
Some
of them, but
deserve to be where they are already.
but and sometimes it was the process of taking one to the other was more fraught than other times.
Yeah.
It's just okay. Like sometimes you'd find one down on the ground and you're like, oh, cool. Let's look around and see where your buddy is because you got to find the little campfire.
Yeah.
And you look up real far. You're like, oh, he's up there. Well, he's a jerk, isn't he? Because he should just come down for you, couldn't he?
Yeah. He could lower a rope and you could like.
And don't get
Drag
me
him
wrong.
up.
Often I would at least try, or I would at least mark the map because maybe I was on my way to something else. And I was like, I'll come back. Absolutely.
Definitely will come
I definitely
back.
will. And then I'd pick them up and I'd maybe try to get them up
I've
there.
written you on my map. I'll come back.
And then they would go further away than they were when I first encountered them. So I'm not really helping.
When you you set up a hot air balloon or something. And you're like, okay, I'll touch this hot air balloon. Let's go.
It'll totally work.
And then you realize that it's going to disappear before.
Oh yeah.
Just like,
yeah.
well, this is where I get off. Sorry.
And save my ass.
And then not only falls, but falls while welded to like a large piece of metal.
Yeah, exactly. There should have been a mechanic in the game to count like at a certain threshold if the Korok like sustained enough damage from being like dragged around the ground or something that when he shows up to the other side, if his buddy's like, "You okay, dude?" Like,
I do. I kind of like this idea that Koroks are like you find
indestructible spirits.
but like you find them like in Ganon's castle, and in different places, and it's like they're sort of divorced from all the drama that's going on in the world.
Yeah.
We're just having fun.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
out camping. What's up with everybody else?
Yeah.
And then,
Ha-ha.
although, and then at one point, and then there's the cool thing. It's in, it's in Tears of the Kingdom where they're like, at one point the Koroks start going like, "Hey, have you heard like, there's this like the Koroks that go this way haven't been coming back. What's up with that?" Like, and so you're actually like, "Geez, that actually sounds really serious."
Yeah.
And then like with that's the like Forbidden Forest, right?
Right.
That there's like a whole evil thing going on in there. But yeah, the fact the Koroks sort of being indestructible, and they're just kind of like, "Hey, how's it going?" I kind of like. Korok space program is not failing for lack of test pilots. Exactly. Anyway. Little video game chat there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's all the video game news we had to talk about this week. But we will be back with more stuff next week. But in the meantime, we want to thank you all for supporting us in all the ways that you do. And we want to, you can support us over on Patreon, patreon.com/loadingreadyrun. Here on Twitch, on YouTube. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can become a member when you get your name in the credits at the very end of the episode checkpoint. Or you can just follow the channel, tell your friends about it. All those things helps us. So thank you very much. We'll talk to you later.